Okay, so what's good, guys? So like I said, we're still working on a little bit of the quality, the sound, and then for some reason my chat was in my OBS and now it's not. So I'm gonna have to figure that part out. But um, what we're gonna do is please,
Okay, so what's good, guys?
give me
So
one
like I said,
second
we're
here.
still working on a little bit of the quality, the sound,
Okay. Okay, I can see the chat over here. I just can't see it on OBS, unfortunately. All right, so we'll start here at like 12:25. I just want to check a few things with this, with my RAM and different stuff here, and I'm finishing lunch, so about 12:25 here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down the futures trades. We're gonna talk about some of the stuff we took, especially obviously on NQ, and then we'll kind of just overlook like ES and YM as well. So I'm gonna go back to. So I'm not gonna use this monitor as much today. I'm gonna go back to the. One second here on that. And then OBS. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Okay. So now we've got that. And now we just need the OBS to pop up here. OBS and then middle screen. Okay, cool. So we'll get started here, like I said, 25. Just let me finish this lunch really quick. Output volume from OBS. It's on my end. It's reading fine. Maybe I'm gonna reposition the actual mic. That's probably gonna help as well. Okay, we're back. So let's see here. Middle screen. Okay, so I want to first show uh, and just let me know, and I can see the comments at least on this other the studio, YouTube studio, so I can at least see what you guys are saying until I can hook it back up to OBS. But we'll go first over what we wanted to see today. Okay, so we wanted to see when you're looking at the Telegram chats, right, the MIDI Boys chat or the obviously OmniProfitCapital chat. Today, what we wanted to see. Let me see if you guys can see this. Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. So what we wanted to see today, when we look at the overview, NQ Thursday, right? So what I was wanting to see is I was talking about higher time frame. I'm still bullish. Yesterday's price was within 2 points of 26,000 whole level, which obviously you guys seen how close we came. We came in 25,998. And then the overnight price did exactly as we discussed on the previous YouTube video. Sold off, took that previous day low, and started to find some support slightly in those 700s coming into that New York Open before it just capitulated at the open and fell off. So this session, that I want to start doing after the New York is going to be breaking down the New York price action, what played out versus what our expectations were, right? Because it's really key to go back and like it's good to be able to predict and do those different things, but also just managing your own expectations and what actually happens, and then being able to take from that data. So so going forward, let's see here. Let's go back to the charts. And so, like I said, if you guys kind of look at like that higher time frame perspective, what we were looking for, and I'm still holding those buys from 600s on futures, but I had parceled out of it and, basically just letting this one ride. I'll explain the loss that I took first, and then how I managed a small win here up to the 700 level, and then was trying to push it again. It was never breaking lower body candles, as you guys can see, than 600. So I was still anticipating, if you're looking left, right, and you're understanding supply demand, that this candle was set as demand. That's why it's my key level. And if we weren't going to get body closes below it, then the likelihood of us bouncing out of this area were still really strong. And then if you look at like a comparison, which I will here in a second, of ES, you can really see what we were looking at. Okay. So can you guys hear me okay in the chat, Ram? Like, can y'all, is it picking up better now? And this audio output. Okay, cool. It's showing it's outputting pretty good. So I just wanted to make sure. This will be recorded and you'll be able to go back and watch too. So it looks pretty clear on my phone too. Okay, so like I said, idea was to see from the overnight, right? Price go below that previous day low, so that yesterday's low. It did. We ended up finding support in 25,700. They pushed price up into New York, showing as if they were going to stack to go above that high of day. Capitulation, right? And so where I took my first loss today, and I'll go to the 1 minute to show this. Let me know if something's not showing up right, guys. But what I had seen was, one, I didn't take a 5 minute signal. I kind of just was anticipating that, okay, hey, you're in the 1 hour area. Like as we were coming down, like it would have looked like this essentially. Start new. All right, so before the big fall, this is all you could see, right? You could see that push higher, and we were going into New York. So I told myself, right, if price was to fall, right, below the initial balance low, and then come into where? The demand, right? So we're looking at demand here. All right, this is the demand candle in my eyes. All right, come into this demand, I wanted to see reaccumulation at 600 level to go higher, right? And so I took a little bit of impulsive trade because I thought, well, maybe they're not going to break the 700 level, right? Because of how fast they started capitulating right at New York Open. Like this is the first, I'll show the 5 minute here. The very first 5 minute candle fell, right? What is that? 82 handles, right? And as it fell, it was falling into a demand, right? And at the same time, the reason why I wanted to buy this as well was that when I was watching Top Step in the background, they were trying to sell this under that previous day low area, right? So they were trying to sell under 730s down to the like 650s, which I mean obviously played out for them. But to me, it just didn't seem like that was going to happen when it got down to here. Now I'd say where I made a mistake, I seen this 5 minute candle 35 to 40 and then 40 to 45, and I seen this sign of strength here. And I could have waited for that, but I had already taken one small loss in this area. I think I was reading like a 1 minute or something, and just got trapped on this. And then so that was my small loss of the day to start. And then when we came down to the 600 level and we finally made that sign of strength here, I really like this at 9. I like to take trades in the first 15 or last 15 minutes of an hour. We had that sign of strength, and then I ended up buying this position with a 20 handle risk, and my goal was to go from 600 to, I really wanted to go above 730s, and then price started to break down. I had to trail risk up to the 650s to secure a small win on that, and still had already experienced that loss. And then the same situation happened over here. We ended up getting we trailed our risk, and then we ended up getting stopped out break even on the remainder. And then I waited, and I ended up finding another position in here, and that position started to go into our favor. Excuse me, this is just the same area. This one doesn't count, sorry. So then I waited, right, and they went lower on that 1 minute, and they hit that 600 level again, and it looked amazing, right? Like the way it shaped up, the way the down candle dumped, everything like that. And so I said, here's another reason why I wanted to buy this position. As I'm watching Top Step, right, they're trying to sell the 629. So like I have to go back in here and look at my notes. Dakota, what time was this? 628. So at 628, Dakota was shorting 627, right? And he wanted to get down to the 600s. Not a bad trade, you know, if you've got some size on it, etc. But something you guys will learn as we go forward when it comes to order flow and how we look at things is when those small time frame 100 tick charts, 1 minute charts, like anything lower than 1 minute, when they're taking trades, they're trying to be in and out scalpers. And so when they take profit, think about this on a sell position, what has to happen? They either put a buy limit at the low of the market or they market execute a buy. And so that's why I'm, you know, when I say observe the masses and think the opposite, that's what we're essentially doing. And that's why I like to watch, you know, retail traders, good retail traders during this time, because then I can see, you know, how they're operating their move. And so to kind of show this too, let me bring this over here really quick. This is YM. Okay, ES and S. Okay, cool. Here we go. Let me see how this shows up really quick on my phone. Make sure everything's clear and whatnot. Because I want to show this ES price and how it was looking at that same time. Okay, so this ES was stacking inside demand all morning, right? Like it hasn't even I talked about this candle yesterday on my stream and I said, you know, this is a strong area of demand, right? 69.50. And so same thing, overnight price, they fell off. They didn't take the low though, right? They didn't take that low that we were anticipating or break below this demand. And so that's what made me also start to see like, okay, we could find strength going into New York when it comes to ES and NQ. All right. And so I would say very low effort price, right? Like they finally gradually bounced off this level, right? And this 69.53s and went up and delivered that high of day. And so ever since then, there's really not been that much volume to continue it up. But one thing I want to show you guys to kind of put your eyes at is like inside demand, right? Because individuals are taking the wrong trades in the wrong spots. And so looking at this demand here, right, we haven't really seen, you know, going into the end of the day, which is that red line on ES, we haven't really seen a break lower of structure, right? And if you look at the structure here on the 5 minute, make sure it looks kind of clear here. Okay, cool. And if you look at the structure here on the 5 minute, you can see that like we've held this 5 minute demand candle almost all day to this point, right? Like, so we rallied up, we touched point of interest daily open, we've come back and we've kind of, you know, just kept tapping into that area of New York. Now, if we're going to fall lower, right? Let's see here if I have this up. If we're going to fall lower, which is very doable because tomorrow's Friday, the 4 hour and daily do support that, right? So it's just a very tough area, I would say, of what's going on. But overall, I still feel like they want to continue higher, right? Because this was the original high day, and now you have a new high day, like I was saying, right? And so I think this is really shitty price, to be honest, on ES. Like I wouldn't want to be too much a part of this. So like when you jump into like a 15.5 of this, it's just too condensed and not. I mean, it's some people like this and consider this range bound, but I look at this and I just say like, I don't like to only see, you know, like I guess a 25-point move isn't bad on ES. I'm being kind of retarded on that, but I'd like to see at least a 30 handle move. You know, if you're risking 5 to 3 points max on ES, I'd love to see a 30 to 25 plus handle move. So this is pretty good for ES. It's just the way that when they deliver the liquidity, how fast they take away a lot of the profits. And so, you know, obviously, oops, let's see, where did I put that? Obviously, you guys know I love NQ. And so when you're looking at, let me make sure I put that in the right spot. When you're looking at this price going into the end of the day, for me, it just seems more than likely like we're still holding up, right, inside demand on H1, right? So this is going to be that demand candle on this area, all right? So like just kind of like to get you guys' eyes like focused on the right area. And then as you guys see on the intraday 15 and 5, we're still holding, like this is something else I was looking at, but we're still holding down candles in that accumulation, right? And so for me, where my perspective is really, shifting to, is really just to keep that same entry that I have, right? So like I've trailed it multiple times. Um, I've partialed, right, some of the 700s, and then I just left a uh, a runner here. I don't know if you guys shifted over. I just left a runner here with my risk pretty much break even, and then I'm looking to get back above that previous day lows, so that internal balance range, and back into possibly these 750s. Okay, and so it's just a small order left on because like I said, I just pulled the other contract when we went and we were trying to close above that 700 key level and we didn't. And so what I did was, like I said, I trailed that risk up on one of those contracts, came back, took me out of one, I left the other one break even to go into the second half of the day to see if by like MOC, like 250, if we get that price action that we're looking for. Okay, and so I'm gonna go back to the middle screen here, and then we'll bring up. I need to bring up. Oh, I know you guys are Cowboys haters, please. But I already know. Okay, and so that's pretty much what I'm seeing right now. I'm gonna stay on stream here till about 1 p.m. And then if you guys have any questions, just let me know. But that, yeah, I mean that was a pretty good day. Like I said, that sell side capitulation right at New York, I think makes it very difficult to maneuver unless it's a fast move that falls and gives you the bounce that you're wanting to see. And so I do want to kind of go over here. Let me do this really fast. I do want to go over the YM trade. I know Tay will go over it like individually over time, but this is kind of what we were looking for too. The overall comparative strength analysis was really good, and so the price, they really gave nobody any chance unless you really have certain things you're looking for on YM to get this trade. But if you're thinking about this like how we are, and we're looking at a 15.5 here, we've seen right at that New York Open, right? This is New York Open for today. Immediate, right? Put this right here. Immediate push, right? And so now let's go to a 1 minute YM here. And let me see if this looks clear. Okay, I think it does. Okay, cool. So now when you go back and look at that New York, you have to make a decision inside the 5 minute location and 1 minute location. Tay was able to find, I believe, a position right here at the 49.40 to like 49.50 area. And so when you're thinking risk to entry, right, you've got your low of day at that essential moment right here. Let me do this, sorry. You've got your low of day essentially right here at one point. So you're thinking from where you're going to put your risk to where you're going to enter. And we look for about 30 handle risk for 150 to 300 point gains, all right? And so when you're looking at this is a great setup. Now, we also talked a lot in the Midi Boys chat on how to manage this, okay? And so once you started to get up into your favor, I'm going to delete this is the old New York, and we started to go into those old points of interest from the previous day, like Tuesday's open, etc. It was a pretty, easy rally on that to monitor and manage as you had the management signals present themselves, right? So like one of the biggest examples I liked right here is if you're framing up a move like this, right, and you're thinking from risk to entry, right, and probabilities. You got to know, you have to have like a understanding of what you're really looking for here. So that was the 30 handle risk right here being from the 30s, right? 30, 40. Let's just do that right there. Now, when price, for example, comes up and on that 5 minute and makes this candle, right? That down candle, a lot of people get scared because they're playing a smaller time frames like 1 minute, etc. But when we see this on a 5 minute, we get excited because that's the first down candle since the rocket. And then what'd you get, at 9 a.m.? You got higher pricing, right? So that 5 minute body close is a signature sign that price wants to go higher. But the real key, right? The real key here is the risk management, right? So let's say you had this position and you start to feel a little nervous here. Well, you have a 2 contract system. You could pull one, stay break even on your remainder, and as soon as this candle closed, what we were telling people to do is to trail their risk to that last down candle in the uptrending market. Okay, And so like when you're looking at this as well, from this perspective, you're closing above liquidity, right? You're closing above the high of day at that point, right? And so now it's all about, you can't just read a 1 minute. There's no way, right? To take these type of setups for sure. But once you start closing above the high of day, that was signs on the 15 and 5 that they were going to reach up and start taking away that looking left range, if that makes sense. Okay. And so we kept doing that, kept watching. Prices kept continuing to, kind of falter off, but not jump off a cliff. And then price would, close a new 5 minute candle, and the same thing. Now you have, as soon as that candle closed like this, you're able to trail that risk here, right? And so it's all about the candles closures to really get that type of management. But we apply this to YM, ES, or NQ, and it works across the board. You just have to know the probabilities to set up for your asset that you're trading. Okay, and so that's what we were kind of seeing there. I'm going to bring this back over here really quick to middle screen. Okay, and so we'll watch this going into the 1 p.m. But I do believe we are going to get that push back into that initial balance area because we failed to ever break lower so far. Okay, and so I'm gonna just kind of take a break here just for a second and look at a couple things, take some notes, and then I'll be back on here in like 12:45. So here in 2 minutes. So I'll just keep it up. I'll just keep it up right here, and I'll take my notes. So if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the chat. Would this be time distortion? What do you mean by time distortion? Just so I have an idea of what you're saying. And yeah, from my understanding, and I'm gonna get this is what we're gonna clean up this weekend. And I'll go over initial balance as well. Yeah, when I look at my phone here to see, and I look at like my actual thing, it's about a 15-second delay. So that's why I want to fix that, just that little issue before we trade live, because, well, it just depends. Like sometimes it is what it is, and then once we open up the Discord, then we'll be able to, you'll get live trading right there with us. And then you asked what is the initial balance area? Do you want me to show you on NQ, or do you want me to show you on ES? And I can show you on any of them, but the easiest for me would be NQ. Oh, on NQ/ES. Okay. So initial I'll do NQ first. So the initial balance is going to be this, right? So basically all it is like when you start the day, right? Start new. When we started the day before that massive candle, right? We had a high and we had a low, right? So this was our initial balance. So that means basically our right when we started trading right before New York, this was our low, and this essentially was our initial balance high. All right. And so what that is it's just a lot of different traders doing a lot of different things. Like sometimes there's people who are short from the overnight. Sometimes there's people who, longed in here during the London session. And so there's a lot of different things, but they're key areas where basically people put their risk. And so what we were looking for there on that initial balance low was, once that initial balance low is taken, right, it starts to show you a lot of things on price action. And so now that we've had that initial balance low, we have a new low on day. So that's what LOD means. There's a new low on day. And I like to frame my risk off of low of days a lot of the times. And so like when I'm taking a 15 5-minute setup. So if that kind of helps, it's just basically whenever I look at the chart around 7:30 a.m., whatever the London low is, or like low of day is currently, and the high, those are the initial balance high and lows. And it's the same way with ES. I'll show it right here. Right, same thing with ES. That's why I said ES is very bullish to me, because it's respecting demand candles. But as you can see, like the low of day hasn't been tested yet, right? So when you compare NQ, right? People call it divergence, etc. You can see that we've made new lows on NQ, and that's the one I like to take, is when the one that takes the low of day. Because the reason is, and I'll go over this, let me write this down because I need to make a video over short covering and how it works. Short covering. But essentially think about it like this, right? If you're short either one of these two assets, but especially the NQ, when you took a short position here, let's just say hypothetically, right? Put your risk, however you do it, right? 20-point risk, and you're targeting where? Usually the lows, right? So the initial balance low. Now think about this, right? Why do I love capitulation bounce plays? Because if once they take that low of day, what is that seller doing to make a profit? He's either putting a buy limit right at that initial balance low or low of day, or he's gonna, as soon as it hits that area, they market execute the position, right? And so yeah, that's why those are really key areas, is because we're always hunting stop losses, and we're always reading context and understanding if price falls fast, the only way for a fast selling short position to make a profit is for those individuals to put a buy order into the markets. How do you judge when LOD and HOD is set? It's just essentially the low and high of the day, right? Like if you can see, let me see how this looks. Does it look clear enough on that blue, green, and orange for you guys? Just let me know. Like that's because this is basically, the blue is Asian session, the green is London, and then this brown is New York, and then this pink is second half of the day. And so I just come in every day, right? Look at like a 1 hour, 1 hour chart, and I say, okay, the high of day is right here, right? The day started at the 1700 hour here. So that's essentially 25,850 is the high of day. Now, obviously, you can go to like let me pull it over here. You can bring up like this, right? And you can just look at the day. Like I have the daily 4 hour, 1 hour here, and I'll just do this in two windows here to make it easier, I think, for people to see. Actually, I like it the other way. Sorry, I don't like it to see it this way. So when you look at today's open, though, right? Now, if you see at the top, it says open, high, low, and close. When I hover over this candle's the daily candle, you can see the open is 25,839. All right. And so what I do personally is I just come in and I mark that 1700 hour candle as soon as I start trading. Cool. They're good. That means we're getting better on what we're doing. On that. Good. And so, as you can see here, when we go back to this is 1 hour and 15, and then now we're back to 15.5 intraday. You can see we're stacking, right? This is ES and NQ side by side. Now, what I want to do is I want to go 1 hour here, or excuse me, I want to go 15 here, 5 minute here, and I want to go back to NQ because I want to watch those and just really watch how they're stacking inside this candle. Now, this imbalance was filled, and it was filled bullishly. So what I'm looking for now is going to be the price to hold this area here, right? And this red line, what you're seeing is the end of day, right? So the actual day that closes on Top Step is going to be 15:10, so 3:10 p.m. But I'm looking at like pretty much the end of day just to have an idea of like CFD positions and stuff as well. So I'm going to move this box here. We got a lot of colors going here. There's like a higher time frame one. So where my eyes are really focused is obviously this whole area, but then like intraday going into 1 p.m. here to see what we're going to get going into like the power hour time is price going to hold structure in this area. So essentially if I'm looking at a line graph, if a line graph goes below that level and body candle closes, that means that's a sign of weakness and this range is going to fail. But if we never get bodies to close below, I'd say this area right here, essentially they bounced off the demand and they're holding in the 650s. So we've had trouble getting above the initial balance low, right? So basically the range of the day that we started with at least 1, 2, and almost 3 times now. So if we come back for that 600 level, it is what it is, right? It's a waiting game, honestly, at this point. But this sign right here, and then there's people that play like inversions and stuff like that. To me, that this is an inversion, right? Like if it comes into this level here, and you're seeing price action like fail that candle, that's also, and that's why it's a key level. That's why it's also in alignment with like just higher time frame bias stuff. We're not seeing candles close bullish. Like if this was instead of a being a lower high, like this was a higher high in the same setup, I'd be a lot more confident that we're gonna go higher. But with this being, it keeps printing and not being able to print a 5 minute candle above an initial balance low, that just kind of shows that that range that we started with to start the day is just not very strong. And let me go over here really quick. Dollars up. Turn this back to yes, and we need this to be 15 minute, and we need this to be, I think, 15 minute as well. Okay. So nope, that's gonna be the 1 hour. This is what we want that to be. Okay. Does that kind of clear up a little bit of the initial balance? And tomorrow, if as long as it's staying this clear and stuff like this, we'll trade it live. So I'll start the stream a little bit earlier so we can set up the framework. Yeah, it's about a 15-second delay. Is this the higher time frame? Okay. Daily. And QQQ looks pretty weak. 4 hour, 1 hour, 5 minute. Doesn't look that strong. It actually has like more liquidity to the downside, very similar to this. So really quick, if you guys want to see this, this is QQQ, right? And I like to use this, the liquidity on this for their reference points. But as you can see, like you see, I have this as buyer liquidity. Well, on QQQ, you also have those same buyer liquidity in this area. And so with price, not being able to break those 621s, and then we came up and did a lower high there as well, the likelihood of us going lower is a lot stronger to me when it comes to like QQQ and NQ at this point. And then measuring this gap, understanding where the 50% is really key. And so let me do this really quick, make sure I have that level marked. And so understanding like if they spike down to here, the likelihood of them coming lower on something like an NQ, right, would be that them taking that low of day, taking this area 550s, and then it's coming back to market open. And then if you guys are familiar with like how we've learned to buy below opening prices, stuff like that, then that's just setting us up for a beautiful Friday potentially to buy below the weekly open in a bullish condition. Okay, and so like that's what I'm personally seeing is if all else fails, right? And so we'll watch that 15. We'll go back to NQ here. And let me see how it looks when I go just white screen like this. But 15 and 5, sorry. Then what else do we have? We have 15 and 5 here. So this needs to be 1 hour and 15. Okay. And so yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I've been seeing going into today. And then like I said, with that QQQ not really showing too much strength, then that's more than likely going to start to show some weakness there. And ES, I mean, ever since it delivered daily open, it's essentially turned down. All right, so I'm gonna go to 15.5. That's what I want to see is the price action here on that. And so those 600s, right? That's why I'm break even, because it's just I don't like how they engineered this low with the low of day. It just doesn't look the part. Now, like I said, if we had something like this would have happened, right? Like when we got this push right here, if we would have got this push up and price would have started to build back into that range, cool, but it made a lower high, right? So more than likely getting ready to come back to those break evens, unfortunately. That way, if you guys have any questions, stuff like that. So I might wait till MOC today, which is 2:50 Central Time Zone, so about an hour and 50 minutes. Sometimes they have really good setups there, or like that power hour. But if this comes back to those 600 levels, I'll probably just accept that break even on the remainder. That 4 hour looks weak. Daily is obviously very heavy. Weekly is starting to respect the supply. So that's the other thing is we'll talk more about probably in the morning. I'm trying to see this here. Okay, and then go back to. Okay. But if you guys don't have any other questions or anything like that, just be on the lookout in the Telegram just for the scheduling of when we'll go live. And yeah, I think we're getting better on this quality and what we're trying to do. So. Yeah, no problem. And hopefully price will somehow maintain that area and potentially run up. I still have. I'll kind of show you guys what I still just have on the board. I still just have this one. This is all I have right now up. So either I could trail that risk up to here, right? Because that 1 minute, it's just how they displaced this 1 minute. And I had a lower entry. My entry was like in the 602s, but when I pulled that contract, or like when I trailed that risk up on that contract up to like when we broke out right here, it was 11:40, 11:45, and then this was the last 15 minutes of 11 going into 12. As we broke out of this area, I had one contract I trailed, and then I trailed another one, and then we failed to make that high of this 5 minute, and I had trailed my risk to the 672s. And when it hit that area, it just kind of pushed me up like 4 points or 5 points. Because like I said, I was a little bit lower. I wasn't inside the demand of exactly where I wanted, but I was relatively right in the area that I wanted to be for the range. So we'll see what they do. How does that screen look, actually? Let me look. Because that's the one we're going to be taking snipes on. I think that one's almost the clearest one. What do you think? On the top step window. Cool. Well, these are recorded, so you can always go back and watch them for right now. Appreciate you guys, and like I said, just send me a message. You know, anything I can make better, or things that you guys just want to know more about, or just anything. Just let me know. So appreciate you guys, and have a good rest of your day.